Very warm welcome to our biology class. Today in this class we are going to understand regarding the thyroid gland, one of the very important and the special endocrine gland. First let us see that where the thyroid gland is located. Thyroid gland is located in our neck region. Suppose this is the thyroid cartilage and below to that we will see the presence of tubular structure called trachea. Here in this location, thyroid gland is located. On the either side of trachea, you will find the presence of thyroid gland in the neck region. Then it is composed by two different lobes. You are observing there the blooming lobes, right and left lobes. And both these lobes are connected with the help of ligament called as isthmus. Hence, it is looking like the butterfly-like gland located in our neck region. And as I told, thyroid gland is a very special endocrine gland. What is the speciality of this gland then? One important speciality is it is only the endocrine gland in our body which depends on the external raw material for the synthesis of hormones. What that raw material it requires? Iodine. For the synthesis of thyroid hormones, thyroid gland required iodine. In our body, there is no any other such endocrine glands. They were dependent on the external source for the raw material. But thyroid gland is only the gland which depends on the external source for the synthesis of hormones. Another specialty of this hormone is only the endocrine gland which can able to store the synthesized hormones. Actually, hormones are short-lived, but this is only the gland which can able to produce the hormones, and that hormones can be stored inside it for the longer period. And it is highly vascularized gland. These are the specialty of the thyroid gland. And this gland produces the three hormones. They are called T3, T4, and Thyrocalcitonin. We will understand about all these three hormones in detail. So then first look at the histology of thyroid gland. Suppose if we take the cross section of thyroid gland and magnified it, we'll see the presence of cluster of cells. These cluster of cells are called as thyroid follicles. Actually, the biological meaning of follicle is group of cells. And these follicles have a cavity inside it. That cavity is called as lumen. And in between the thyroid follicle, we'll see the presence of connective tissue. This connective tissue is called as stromal tissue. And in the stromal tissue, we'll find the presence of blood vessels, lymph nodes, and other connective fibers, as well as one more important cells we'll find in the stromal tissue. Those cells are called as parafollicular cells or C cells. And these are also the cells which were help in secretion of one more hormone by the thyroid gland. Now let us see that hormones are going to secrete it and how the activation for the secretion of thyroid hormone occurs. Suppose here hypothalamus part it is part of our brain, and lower to the hypothalamus will find the presence of a pituitary gland which have the two lobes. The anterior lobe is called as adenohypophysis and the posterior lobe is called as neurohypophysis. Adenohypophysis is well connected by the hypothalamus with the help of a portal system. This portal system is called as hypophyseal portal system, and the anterior pituitary gland is the one which will secrete the thyroid stimulating hormone, which is very much essential for the activation of the thyroid gland for the secretion of thyroid hormones. Then how does it occur? From the hypothalamus, one of the hormone called TRH, thyrotropin releasing hormone, will get secreted, and that hormone will act on the adenohypophysis, and in response to that, anterior pituitary gland adenohypophysis will secrete one more hormone called TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. And this thyroid stimulating hormone will go through the blood and it will act on the follicular cells. because the thyroid follicles are only the cells which have the receptors for thyroid stimulating hormone. You look at the sectional view of thyroid gland now. Whatever the hormones are there, TSH hormones are there, they come through the blood and act on the follicular cells. In response to that, the follicles will secrete two different type of hormones. Those are T3 hormone and T4 hormones. The secretion and the level of T3 and T4 hormones will be maintained by themselves by giving a feedback to the hypothalamus. Suppose whenever the thyroid hormones level is going to increase in the blood, automatically that increased level of thyroid hormone T3 and T4 hormones will suppress the secretion of TRH from the hypothalamus. Then automatically thyroid stimulating hormone secretion is also going to decrease, and that will lead into the decreased secretion of T3 and T4 hormones. That is what the way how the T3 and T4 hormone levels are going to be maintained in the blood. Suppose whenever again the T3 and T4 hormones levels will decrease, then the decreased level of T3 and T4 hormones itself activate the hypothalamus to secrete TRH hormone, and that will again act on the anterior pituitary gland. So then anterior pituitary gland will secrete TSH hormone. That TSH hormone again activate the secretion of thyroid hormones. This is what the way how the function of thyroid gland is regulated by the hormones of its own. Now let us understand the function of these thyroid hormones. There are the two hormones, T3 and T4 hormones. T3 hormone is called as triiodothyronine, means the three iodine molecules are going to be utilized for the making of this hormone, and 4 iodine molecules are going to be utilized for the formation of tetraiodothyronine. The tetraiodothyronine is even called as an thyroxine hormone. Both these hormones are required the iodine for the synthesis and secretion. Then the question is, from where this iodine is going to be get available? As you all know, students, we are getting the iodine through our diet. Nowadays, by understanding the importance of the iodine to our body, even there are so many companies which were preparing the iodinized salt. Tata iodinized salt is there. Annapurna iodinized salt is there. Like that, many more companies were also producing iodinized salts, and that is very important for our body normal functioning because we required T3 and T4 hormones in the normal level. Then what is the role of this hormone, both these hormones? These hormones are function along with a growth hormone for the maintenance of the normal body metabolic rate. Now the question is, sir, what is the function of growth hormone? Growth hormone is the one which will help us to grow. Then, sir, do you mean that even the T3 and T4 hormones are also going to help us to grow? Yes, even they are going to help us for our normal growth. Not only that function, students, even the T3 and T4 hormones are going to support the process of erythropoiesis. It means the blood formation process, and even these are the hormones which will helps in control carbohydrate, proteins and fat metabolism in our body. Now, to know the importance of these hormones, will take into the consideration of certain disorders of the gland. By that, we comes to know that how both the hormones are important for our body functioning. Suppose if we are getting low iodine intake along with our diet, then what will happen? It will result into hypothyroidism, means less secretion of T3 and T4 hormones. Why? Because we are taking the iodine in a very less quantity, and the iodine is the one which is very important element for the synthesis of T3 and T4 hormones. Then in the hypothyroidism, we'll find the enlargement of thyroid gland. Then you may ask me the question, sir, if you are saying that low intake will be resulting into the hypothyroidism, means the less secretion of T3 and T4 hormones, and in the other way you are saying that even the thyroid gland size is going to increase, enlargement of the thyroid gland occurs. Then if the less iodine is supplying, hypothyroidism is there, then the thyroid gland size must be decreased. Then why it is increasing in the size? Let me tell you, students, why the thyroid gland enlargement occurs in the hypothyroidism. Whenever the low intake of iodine occurs along with our diet, that will result into the less secretion of T3 and T4 hormones and less availability of those hormones in the blood. Due to that, what hypothalamus will think? Hypothalamus think that something going wrong with me. Because of that only T3 and T4 hormones level is decreasing. Because of that, it will keep on secreting the more amount of TRH hormone, and that will act on the anterior pituitary gland. In response to that, anterior pituitary gland will keep on secreting the higher concentration of TSH hormone. Then this TSH hormone will act on the thyroid gland and make it to become more and more active. Due to that, the thyroid gland enlargement occurs in the hypothyroidism. I hope you are all understood why the enlargement occurs. And such enlargement is called as goiter. Means the hypothyroidism will lead into the goiter. You probably observed the people, those who have the enlarged area in the neck region. Such condition is called as an goiter. It is because of a low intake of iodine along with our diet. Then we'll take a situation one more to understand the more importance of T3 and T4 hormone. Suppose if the hypothyroidism occurs during the pregnancy, this woman is pregnant, so baby is growing in her womb. By that time, she is suffering from the hypothyroidism. Suppose by that time, if she is suffering from the hypothyroidism, it will leads into the stunted growth. It is called as cretinism. Means the hypothyroidism will lead into the cretinism. You might be heard about it. Whenever the growth hormone level is going to decrease, that will be resulted into the dwarfism. Means even the stunted growth only. But that is because of the less secretion of growth hormone. Here, it is because of the less secretion of T3 and T4 hormone. That condition is called as cretinism. Not only that, even the thyroid hormones are helps in maintenance of mental health. Suppose the hypothyroidism is there in the pregnant woman, that will even leads into the mental retardation of that child, and even it will leads into the low IQ, and the child is unable to hear and speak. Means the deaf mutism is there in that child, and even it will lead into the abnormal skin, and it will. These are all the situations are going to be created in the hypothyroidism in pregnant woman. It means that the thyroid gland is the one which is responsible for maintenance of all these in our body. Suppose if the hypothyroidism occurs in non-pregnant women or in the girls, that may result into irregular menstrual cycles. It means that the thyroid hormone is also going to play an important role in maintenance of the normal menstrual cycles in the women. So these are all the conditions which were going to occur at the time of hypothyroidism. Now let us understand what happens if the thyroid gland is functions more. Suppose if the person is suffering from the thyroid gland cancer, then what will happen? It leads into the development of nodules. Means the tumor-like conditions in the thyroid gland because of repeated uncontrolled thyroid gland cell division, that will lead into hyperthyroidism. Now let us see that if both these hormones are going to secrete in a higher concentration, then what will happen? Even by that time, the enlargement of the thyroid gland occurs. Again, the question is, why the enlargement here? The enlargement is because of a repeated cell division inside the thyroid gland. I told you it is maybe because of the cancer. We'll take such one condition. Hyperthyroidism will lead into the exophthalmic goiter. What does it mean? I told you what does it mean by the goiter. Goiter, it is nothing but the enlargement of the thyroid gland. What does it mean by the exophthalmic then? Exophthalmic means due to the hypersecretion of thyroid hormones, it will lead into the protruding of eyeball. Exo means the outside, ophthalmic means the eyeball. Means the eyeballs are going to come outer region. So that called as an exophthalmic goiter. And even by that time, I told you it will lead into the enlargement of the thyroid gland. And due to the secretion of the higher concentration of T3 and T4 hormones, it will lead into increased body metabolic rate. Suppose whenever the body metabolic rate is suddenly going to increase due to the abnormal secretion of the thyroid hormone, that will result into the weight loss. And this type of the disease is known as Graves' disease. One of the scientists called Grave, he studied about this disease for the first time. This is what the conditions are going to occur during hyperthyroidism. Now let us see that one more even hormone is going to be produced by this gland. It is called as an TCT hormone. What cells are going to help in secretion of that TCT hormone? What is the role of that hormone? We will understand. Students, as you all know that here in the stromal tissue, we'll find the presence of one more special type of the cells. Those are called as parafollicular cells or C cells. These cells are secreting the hormone called Thyrocalcitonin, TCT hormone. And the Thyrocalcitonin plays a very, very important role in our body. What type of the role it is going to play then? Suppose here the blood vessel is there and the bone is there. In the blood, there is a calcium ions. Whenever the calcium ion concentration increase in the blood, by that time, Thyrocalcitonin hormone is going to secrete, and that Thyrocalcitonin hormone will lead into enhance the deposition of calcium into the bone. This process is called as mineralization. Means it will help in deposition of calcium into the bones. Automatically, by that, the blood calcium level is going to decrease, lowers the blood calcium level. That is what the way how the TCT is going to play an important role in our body. And let me tell you, students, this particular hormone is work exactly opposite to the one more hormone, PTH hormone, parathyroid hormone. We will understand about the parathyroid gland and the PTH hormone in the next video. I hope this video has become useful for you all to understand the thyroid gland in detail. Thank you. Please share, comment, like and subscribe my channel. Thank you once again.